Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Katie and today I'll be talking about terrorism. In 2014, 13,463 terrorist attacks occurred around the world. I've seen so many movies and documentaries and have read articles about terrorism because it is something I am truly passionate about. Everyone seems to know about terrorism, but not to its full extent. It is something that affects the entire world and should be educated on. Today, I won't be forcing you to become educated on everything, but I will share some facts, history, and statistics in hopes to open your eyes to something so unfortunate. First, I think it's best to establish what terrorism actually is. During the French Revolution in the late 18th century, the term terrorism originated. To be more specific, terrorism is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Its goal is to completely destroy any sense of security to the general public. It has targets such as buildings with a large number of people, political and economic symbols, and places that involve militaries and embassies. According to an article from American Psychological Association about understanding terrorism, psychologists are examining the background and factors that lead to terrorism and its development. The article states that one group's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. To me, this is so interesting because it helps us understand the motives and tries to put it into perspective. According to psychology behind terrorism, it's more than just theory or opinion, meaning there's so much more to terrorism than what we actually think, and it's done in order to prove a point and to prove power over somebody else. The article also provides insights into viewing terrorism as our subconscious fear of death and our desire for meaning and personal significance. To me, this is so interesting because one of the words I think of when I hear terrorism is fear, and I feel like a lot of y'all could relate to that. Moving on, terrorism can be motivated by many political and religious views. In the past, motives have been carried out by Christianity and government control. For example, the bombings in Oklahoma City in 1995. The bombings were carried out in order to send a message to the government about FBI operations. Another thing that people aren't completely aware about is the PTSD that comes from terror attacks. The PTSD is not only given upon the people that are fighting, but also the general public who has to experience it as well. Now, with the understanding and knowledge of what terrorism is, I'd like to talk about the 9/11 attacks that we all know about. On September 11, 2001, 4 coordinated attacks hit the United States. It was an attack specifically on the United States to show terrorism. It was to support aggression by the Islamist terrorist group Al-Qaeda. They wanted to support aggression over us and show that they had more power than us. According to DoSomething.org, September 11th resulted in the largest loss of life by a foreign attack on American soil. 2,996 people died and an estimated 123 billion economic loss in the first 2 to 4 weeks following the attacks. The attacks were at the 2 towers of the World Trade Center and were at the Pentagon and the crash of Flight 93, who was supposedly headed to the White House. Victims ranged from 2 to 85 years old, and this was an attack that changed America forever. When it comes to economy, security measures, changed the nation completely. The 9/11 attacks led to an investigation codenamed Pent Bomb. This investigation was the largest FBI investigation ever seen. According to an article from NDTV, 500,000 investigation leads were there, and over 100 tips were sent in from the public. It is the largest crime scene ever seen by FBI, and that half of the FBI agents worked tirelessly to try to identify the hijackers with great help from the public. Now that I've gone over a specific attack and have talked about the meaning of terrorism, now I will talk about why America endured this attack and the background behind why the terrorists wanted to do this. First, Al-Qaeda wanted to weaken any sense of security in the United States. According to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum article, the terrorists did not have the capacity to destroy our military, so instead they set their sights on a symbolic target to try and destroy us. They felt power by doing this and felt power by supporting their political and religious goals in the Muslim world and Middle East. They also wanted to support aggression whenever they felt humiliated when the Muslim world was falling. They tried to provoke America into a war And overall, it was a great deal of social pressure that generated and motivated these attacks. With all this being said, I hope we all have a better understanding of terrorism and its effects on our nation. I have informed you with all the details of the 9/11 attacks and how America will never be the same because of it. I have given you history, background, and motives of terrorism and reasoning behind why, unfortunately, it happens. I hope you are all able to understand now the terrible effects from terrorism and how it has changed our country forever. Every attack, small or large, will affect a nation and will change history forever. Thank you all for listening.